The evening sky over Portland was painted with soft gold. That's when Maria stepped onto the porch and saw her son. Jake was sitting silently, his eyes fixed on the fading light. He looked peaceful at first, but something in the way his shoulders dropped told a different story. Maria had always been able to read him. Since he was a little boy, he couldn't hide his feelings even if he tried. Now, at 22, he was quieter. Older. And harder to reach. But that sadness, still written all over his face. She walked over with 2 mugs of cocoa, the steam rising in the cool air. Here. She said, handing him one. He took it. His lips formed a small smile that disappeared just as fast. Thanks, Mom. Maria sat beside him, the wood creaking under her weight. You've been quiet lately, she said softly. Is everything okay? Jake shrugged, still staring at the street light flickering across the road. Yeah, just thinking. She gave him a patient look. Thinking about what? He waited for a long moment before finally speaking. About life. I guess. About people. Everyone seems to have someone, a girlfriend, a partner, someone who cares about them that way. And me, I don't. Single quotes. His voice cracked just a little. It feels like everyone else has figured something out that I can't. Maria felt her heart twist. Jake wasn't the type to complain. He worked hard, studied hard, never caused trouble. He had friends, a steady part-time job, dreams of becoming a photographer. But underneath all of that, there was a quiet loneliness he never talked about. I'm not saying I need anyone, he continued, trying to sound casual. But his voice gave him away. It's just sometimes I feel invisible, like I'm standing still, while everyone else is moving on. Maria wanted to hug him, to tell him love would find him when the time was right. But she knew that wasn't what he needed. He needed to be heard. Not comforted with easy words. You're not invisible, Jake. She said softly. You just haven't met the right person yet. He gave a weak smile. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just not the type people fall for. That line broke her heart. She reached out, gently brushing his arm. Don't say that. You're kind, you're honest. You care about people. Those things matter. The right girl will see that. He nodded, but the sadness in his eyes stayed. Yeah, maybe. For a while, they sat in silence, listening to the wind move through the trees. The world outside was calm, but inside Maria's heart, a storm began to stir. She had always believed her son was strong enough to handle anything, but hearing the quiet ache in his voice made her realize how heavy loneliness could feel, even for someone as steady as him. After a few minutes, Jake stood up. I'm going to bed. Mom. Thanks for listening. She smiled. Always. When he went inside, Maria stayed on the porch, watching the sky darken completely. She thought about his words, how softly he'd spoken, how much emotion he'd hidden behind a tired smile. Every mother wants her child to be happy, but happiness can't be forced. Still. Maybe it could be encouraged. Maybe, just maybe, she could help him open his world a little wider. Inside the house, she walked through the living room. Old photos lined the shelves. Pictures of Jake as a kid. Smiling with missing teeth, holding his first camera, graduating high school. Every picture showed the same boy, with a spark in his eyes, a spark that seemed dim tonight. She sat on the couch. Thinking. Jake didn't need pity, and he didn't need advice about waiting for the right time. He needed connection, a reason to look forward to something again, someone who could remind him that love wasn't just a dream for other people. That night, Maria lay awake longer than usual. The rain started outside, tapping gently against the window. She thought about the years she had spent raising him alone after his father passed away. She remembered the late nights helping with homework, the way he always made her laugh, even when she was exhausted. He had grown into a man she was proud of. Thoughtful. Patient. Caring. But she could see the quiet emptiness that life sometimes leaves behind when love hasn't found its way in yet. Her heart whispered one thing. Do something. She didn't know what exactly, but she knew she couldn't just watch her son lose faith in love before it ever began. She believed love could appear in unexpected ways, through small chances, through people you don't see coming. Maria got up, walked to the window, and looked out at the wet streets glistening under the street lights. Maybe all he needs, she murmured, is a little nudge. In that quiet moment, her mind began to shape a simple plan, one that came from love, not interference. She would help Jake meet someone, but in a natural way, someone kind, someone genuine, someone who could remind him that he was worthy of being seen. Outside, the rain kept falling, but for the first time that night, Maria felt something new, a flicker of hope. Maybe she couldn't fix everything, but she could open a door. She smiled faintly, whispering into the dark, "Just wait, Jake. Things are about to change." And though she couldn't see the future, a mother's heart often knows when life is about to turn a page. That night, as Jake slept peacefully upstairs, Maria stayed by the window. Watching the world move quietly beneath the rain, unaware that a small act of love. Soon to come would change everything. A week later, Maria's plan quietly started taking shape. She didn't want to push Jake into anything. She just wanted to open a door. One morning, while walking through the park with a bag of groceries, she noticed a young woman sitting on a bench near the pond. Her sketchbook rested on her lap. Soft music played from her headphones. She was drawing something, a group of ducks gliding across the water. The woman looked calm. Lost in her art. Her face full of quiet joy. Maria smiled. She paused for a moment. There was something warm about her presence. Simple. Genuine. Full of life. When the woman looked up, their eyes met, and Maria greeted her. "That's beautiful," she said. Nodding toward the drawing, the woman smiled shyly. "Oh, thank you. It's just something I do to relax. I'm Maria." She sighed kindly. "I live nearby. I've seen you here a few times." "I'm Emma." The woman replied. "I just moved to Portland a few weeks ago. I'm studying art at the community college." Maria's mind instantly began to turn. "Art student? That's wonderful. My son's a photographer. He's really into creative projects too." Emma's eyes brightened. "Really? I love photography. It's like painting with light." Maria laughed softly. "That's exactly what he says." They talked for a few minutes about the weather, about the city. About how hard it could be to make new friends when you moved somewhere new. Emma was kind. Polite. And seemed genuinely happy to chat. When Maria learned she was also looking for a small part-time job to help with rent, her plan felt even clearer. "You know," Maria said casually, "Jake's been thinking about working with someone for his photography. Someone creative who understands visuals. Maybe you two could meet and see if it works." Emma smiled. "A little curious." "That sounds great, actually. I'd love to help with something creative." Maria didn't press further. She simply gave Emma her number. And told her she'd pass it to Jake. On her walk home, she felt a lightness in her heart. It wasn't a big plan, just a meeting. But sometimes, the smallest moments can shift everything. That evening, she found Jake in his room, editing photos on his laptop. His desk was messy, the soft glow from the screen lighting up his focused face. "You've been busy," she said. He nodded. "Trying to finish a project for a client?" She smiled. "Well, I met someone today who might be able to help you out. Her name's Emma. She's an art student who just moved here. She seems sweet. Very creative. She said she'd love to work together if you're interested." Jake looked up, surprised. "You talked to someone about my work?" Maria chuckled. "Don't look so alarmed. I just mentioned it in passing." She seemed interested. "That's all." He leaned back in his chair, thinking, "I don't know, Mom. I'm not really great at meeting new people, especially girls." "You're not meeting her to date her," Maria said with a teasing smile. "You're just meeting another artist. You could help each other out." He sighed, but smiled faintly. "All right, I'll give it a shot." 2 days later, they met at the park. Emma was waiting under a tree, her sketchbook beside her. When Jake walked up, carrying his camera, she stood and smiled. "You must be Jake." "Yeah." He said, smiling nervously. "And you're Emma?" For a few seconds, neither spoke. Then Emma broke the silence. So, your mom told me you take photos. Can I see some? He nodded. He handed her his camera. She flipped through the images. Soft portraits. Sunsets. Streets soaked in golden light. These are amazing, she said sincerely. You see beauty in small things. Jake looked down. Embarrassed. Thanks. I just like to capture moments that feel real. Emma smiled. That's what art is. Making something real. Stay a little longer. That first meeting was simple, but meaningful. They talked about colors. Lighting. Angles. And how emotions could be captured without words. Jake showed her how to adjust camera settings. Emma shared her sketches. To explain how she framed ideas before painting. The conversation flowed easily. And for the first time in months, Jake forgot to overthink. When he got home that evening, Maria was in the kitchen making dinner. So she asked, pretending to be casual. How'd it go? Asterisk. He tried to sound like he didn't care, but his voice softened. She's nice, easy to talk to. She actually understands art. Maria smiled to herself. That's great. Honey, you two should keep working together. He nodded. Yeah, maybe. She has this way of looking at things. Like she finds beauty everywhere. Maria didn't say much after that, but her heart was quietly full. She didn't expect instant love. That wasn't what she was trying to create. All she wanted was for Jake to meet someone who reminded him how to see life again, the way he used when he was younger, camera in hand, eyes bright with wonder. Over the next few days, Jake and Emma met again, once at the cafe near the river. And another time at a bookstore downtown. They shared ideas, laughed at mistakes, and slowly began to build a friendship. Maria saw the change in her son, the light returning to his face, the way he hummed softly while editing photos. The spark that had been missing for so long. She didn't need to ask how it was going. His smile told her everything. Late one night, as she watched him sort through pictures of Emma smiling against the sunset, she whispered to herself, sometimes the heart just needs a little help finding its way. Maria didn't know what would come next, but she knew she had done the right thing. She hadn't forced love. She had simply created a moment for it to begin. And sometimes that's all love really needs, a single chance to start. The weeks that followed brought a quiet change to Jake's life, but a noticeable one. Maria saw it before he ever said a word. The boy who once sat in silence on the porch now woke up earlier. Left home with purpose. And came back with a spark in his eyes. His world, which had once felt small and gray, now seemed filled with color. And that color had a name. Emma. At first they met for simple creative sessions, sharing ideas. Taking photos, sketching scenes, laughing over failed attempts. But soon their meetings stretched longer. Their talks drifted from art to life, and their friendship began to feel like something more. Maria often caught Jake looking at his phone, smiling at a message. Sometimes she'd see him leave with his camera bag and a hint of nervous excitement. She hadn't seen in years. One afternoon, Maria watched from her window. As Jake and Emma sat under the tall maple tree by the park. The wind played with her hair. As she leaned toward him. Showing him something in her sketchbook. He laughed, a genuine, deep laugh that warmed Maria's heart. It was in that moment she realized what she had started as a small plan had grown into something real. That evening, Jake came home later than usual. His cheeks pink from the cold. You're home late, Maria said, smiling. As she stirred soup on the stove. He grinned, setting down his bag. We lost track of time. Emma wanted to get pictures of the river at sunset. And we ended up talking for hours. Maria handed him a bowl of soup. She seems like a good influence. He nodded. She is different. She listens. She doesn't try to be perfect. She's just real. Maria didn't ask more. She didn't need to. For the first time in a long while, Jake was talking about someone with genuine emotion in his voice. Days turned into weeks, and their connection deepened. They started working on a small photography art project together. Jake's photos paired with Emma's drawings. It wasn't about money or fame. It was about expression. About finding beauty together. They spent long hours in coffee shops editing their work, sometimes in silence, sometimes talking about everything and nothing. Emma brought light into Jake's world. She teased him when he got too serious, pushed him to take creative risks, and reminded him that not everything in life had to be perfect to be beautiful. Jake, in turn, made her laugh. A soft, genuine laugh that came from comfort. Not effort, but with growing closeness came uncertainty. Jake began to feel something deeper for Emma. And that scared him. He had never been in love before. He didn't know what to say. Or how to tell her. Every time he thought about saying it, his heart raced. And he told himself it was better to stay quiet. Than risk losing her friendship. One evening, as they walked home from the park, Emma noticed his silence. "You're quiet today," she said, her voice light. Jake shrugged. "Just tired, I guess." She stopped walking, looking at him with gentle concern. "You've been different lately. Did I do something?" He shook his head quickly. "No, not at all. You're perfect. He paused, struggling for words. "I don't want to mess things up. You're important to me." Emma smiled softly. "Jake, you don't have to be so careful. Life's messy. That's what makes it beautiful." Her words hit him deep. For a moment, they just stood there. The world quiet around them. Emma reached up, brushed a leaf from his hair, and laughed. "See, even the trees want to be part of your story." Jake laughed too, but inside, his heart raced. He didn't say it out loud. But he knew he was falling for her. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept replaying the way she had looked at him, the sound of her laugh, the warmth of her presence. He knew she had changed something inside him, something he didn't know needed changing. The next few days were a blur of emotion. He'd smile when she texted him. Lose focus when she wasn't around, and overthink every word he said. Maria noticed the shift immediately. One evening, she found him staring at the ceiling in the living room. "Trouble in paradise?" she asked teasingly. He smiled weakly. "No, it's just I think I like her, Mom. More than just as a friend." Maria's heart swelled. "That's not trouble, Jake. That's life," he sighed. "But what if she doesn't feel the same?" Maria sat beside him. "You'll never know unless you're honest. Sometimes the risk is worth it." Jake nodded. But stayed quiet. He wasn't sure if he was brave enough to say it. Still, when he saw Emma again, something in him began to shift. They worked late one evening, finishing the final touches on their joint project. Emma leaned back in her chair, looking at their work. His photos blended with her sketches. "We make a good team," she said. Jake smiled. "Yeah, they're best." For a moment, neither spoke. The air between them was warm and unspoken. Then Emma looked at him. And said softly, "You know, I'm glad your mom introduced us. I didn't realize how much I needed a friend like you." He looked at her. His heart aching. "In the best way possible." "Yeah, he whispered. "Me to Dad." After she left that night, Jake stood by the window, looking out at the glowing streetlights. He felt both happy and scared. Happy because he finally felt alive again, and scared because love had quietly walked into his heart without asking permission. And as he stood there, he realized something simple but true. Love doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it comes softly, through laughter. Friendship. And small shared moments that mean everything. Jake didn't know what would happen next. But he knew one thing. Emma had changed him. And whatever came after, he would never be the same again. Winter arrived quietly in Portland, wrapping the streets in silver light and cold air. Snowflakes drifted through the sky like falling stars, covering the houses in soft white. For Maria, this season had always carried memories of family and warmth. But this year felt different. The house didn't feel heavy anymore. It was alive again. Laughter echoed through the kitchen. Music played in the living room. And most of it came from Jake and Emma. Their friendship had turned into something deeper. Though neither of them had said it out loud. It showed in the way Emma's eyes searched for him in a crowded place, and in the way Jake's smile appeared the second she walked into the room. To Maria, it was clear love had quietly found them both. One Saturday afternoon, the three of them decorated the house for Christmas. Emma helped untangle lights, while Jake placed ornaments on the tree. The air was filled with the smell of cinnamon and fresh pine. Emma laughed when Jake dropped a silver bowl, and it rolled under the couch. "You're hopeless," she said, smiling. "Hopelessly talented," he teased, crawling under the couch to get it. Maria watched them from the kitchen doorway, her heart full. The boy who once sat alone on the porch was now laughing again, not pretending, but genuinely happy. She didn't say much, just smiled, and continued making hot chocolate, grateful that life had finally given him someone to share his light with. As the evening settled in, snow began to fall harder outside. Emma stayed longer than usual, helping Maria prepare dinner. The three of them sat together at the table, talking and laughing, like they had known each other for years. It felt like family. Easy. Warm. Real. After dinner, Emma stood by the window, watching the snow swirl beneath the streetlights. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Jake joined her. "Yeah. He said softly. It really is. He didn't just mean the snow, he meant her." Maria noticed the way he looked at Emma. It was the same way his father used to look at her. Full of quiet admiration, and in spoken words. Her chest tightened with emotion. She excused herself to the kitchen, giving them a little space. Emma turned to him. Smiling gently. "You've changed a lot since we first met." She said. "You used to be so serious." He laughed. "You mean boring?" She grinned. "A little. But now you smile more. You laugh. It's nice." He met her gaze. "You did that. You made me see things differently." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the wind outside. And the ticking clock on the wall. There was warmth between them. Quiet. Undeniable warmth. Emma looked down, a soft blush coloring her cheeks. "I should probably get going before the roads get worse." Jake nodded. Though he didn't want her to leave. "I'll walk you home," she smiled. "You don't have to." "I want to," he interrupted gently. Outside, the cold bit at their cheeks. As they walked through the snow-covered streets, their breaths came out in small clouds. Their steps crunching softly beneath them. They didn't talk much, but the silence between them felt safe. When they reached her apartment building, she turned to him. "Thank you, Jake." She said. "For everything. You've made Portland feel like home." He smiled, his heart beating faster. "You've done the same for me." For a moment, they just looked at each other. Both knowing something had changed, but unsure how to name it. Emma stepped closer and whispered. "Merry Christmas." Then she hugged him, a simple, warm, genuine hug that seemed to erase every lonely moment he'd ever felt. When she pulled away, she smiled and went inside. Jake stood there for a moment, watching the light from her window. He didn't say a word, but his heart was full. In a way it had never been before. When he got home, Maria was waiting up. Reading on the couch. She looked up and smiled. "You walked her home?" "Yeah," he said quietly. "She's home safe." Maria set her book aside. She studied his face. There was something peaceful about him now, something she hadn't seen in years. "Jake," she said softly. "You're happy, aren't you?" He smiled faintly. "Yeah, Mom, I really am." She reached out and touched his hand. "You deserve it." He waited. His voice turning gentle. "Thank you."